Thank you, Simcoe. That was beautiful. Beautifully said. I love your grandmother. Our next guest is my special guest that I invited and happily obliged to come and read for you. And his name is Guy Duperreault. He's a published poet and a great blogger. I'd like you to welcome Guy Duperreault.
I'm here by kind of a weird circumstance. I stopped into Levana's bookstore, which I really love, as well as Levana and John, to buy a massage table. And Levana, off the top of her head, said, "Oh, why don't you come to this poetry thing?" I had no idea what it was. And I said, "Oh, okay, fine." I was rushing off somewhere. I was late. And so I've been busy ever since. So I haven't written anything for this thing, but I went through my poems with the idea of ancestry. So these are kind of related actually to your discussion in a sense about humanity in an odd sort of way. We'll see if that link can be made to you. Anyway, it's a series of a few short poems here for the most part. So I'll start off with Job Complete. I was sitting in the closet. The door was closed and the bedroom's light was off. The closet was my mother's and it was crowded with clothes and shoes and other mother stuff. But it was the confused aromas, the patchwork of faded perfumes, bouquets of new shoe and acrid old ones and odor eaters and the hat box aromas and the other nosegays that most filled the spaces in my heart and soul. With closed eyes, I ignored the sound of my name being called out from a distance, the voice colored with the exasperation of the paid strangers, good intentions edged with deadlines and the dreaded lines of pending paperwork. I knew in time I would be found. That escape here now was not possible. I breathed it all in, every molecule of her I could, because when I was caught, I was going to be taken away from what here was left of her and put in some kind of check-marked box. Job complete. Stubbornness. I left home 36 years before you died. You waited for me to come home, broken and defeated by the world that you had terrorized me with. You waited too long. I learned on my own to walk tall into the bearable darkness that, to my surprise, has become an unbearable lightness. Lost in a synaptic lapse. In my imagination, I had an idea, or that is what I thought, because when I looked for it, it was lost. When I thought about the lost thought, I tried to imagine what it would mean to look for it. What I mean is, how is a thought sought in an imagination? Do I look for it in the blood, bridging synaptic gaps, or in their lapses? Oh, I know, it is a ghost, perhaps even the ghost in the machine. And the only reason you know it is there is because, when you are lucky, you awake from a sleep mumbling through your numb tongue and flaccid lips, "I know where I am." Seduced by words. He used to think that he had somewhere important to go. More recently, he used to wonder that he used to think that, and would struggle to remember where that place was. Time heals all wounds, and he no longer struggled with either thought or wonder. Instead, he looked up from his book to read from his computer screen its meaningful text. The clock had long since been dismissed, and noticed in the corner of the screen and forgotten with dead hands on the wall behind him. He returned to the book, sitting to the right of his tired, worn, lettered, food-splattered keyboard. A husky fife note blue, blue, blue bloom is on the gold-pinnacled hair, a jumping rose on satiny breasts of satin, rose of Castile, trilling, trilling, ay Dolores, peep, who's in the peep of gold? Tink cried to bronze in pity, and a call, pure, long, and throbbing, longing de call, decoy, soft word, but look, the bright stars fade. Oh, rose, notes chirping answer. Castile, the morn is breaking. Jingle, jingle, jaunted, jingling. Oh, well done. Coin rang. Clock clocked. A vowel, sonnes. I could rebound of garter, not leave thee smack, low cloche, thy smack, a vowel, warm, sweetheart, goodbye. And in brackets there, that of course is not my writing, that is Joyce. With the unspoken sound of words, the music of ideas, thrilling hum of newfound metaphor, he did not notice that the earphones over his ears no longer transmitted sound as he returned to the book calling to him. I fell at last into profound slumber. When I awoke quite a while later, my views had undergone a clarification. I started to read the book backwards. This method proved as good as the usual one. The book can just as well be read backwards, for it has no back, no front, no top, and no bottom. Everything could easily have happened before or might have happened afterwards. You can read any of the conversations just as pleasurably backwards, for you don't miss the point of the gags. Every sentence is a gag, but taken together, they make no point. The thought of there being importance, high spiritual, secular meaning in what he had read, kept him at his desk, oblivious to the food decaying beside him. He looked up from the screen, typed something, and pressed enter. And so he entered furthermore into the idea of there being, in someone else's words, the possibility of truth. And this is a more reflective piece, linking to the theme, I guess, in a more tight way. Museum piece. I'm sitting in an expansive coffee shop with large windows overlooking the large bay. A bold Americano in a large paper cup stands beside a large dried fruit and oatmeal cookie, now largely consumed. The restored and prettified, glorified remnants of the giant cement and wood shipyard is small now, lost at the feet of the towering towers of glass. A small movement, a slow movement catches my eye. I move my vision from the expanse of water, the giant container ships and tankers anchored there, and struggle to find a something alive in the museum dead yard. Eventually I do see it. It is a hymn, an old hymn with a third leg. He has moved to lean against the restored remnants of the yard. He is old and looks small against the shipyard's pretty wall with clothes and a hat and an unspecified feeling of being a laborer longing for a past that, with his help, had triumphed in making the ships that could feed the world that his ships had made increasingly small. I sip my coffee, take a large bite from the remains of the too sweet cookie. When I move my hand to pick a dried bit of something sticking from between my teeth, I notice my hand. Then actually I look at my soft hands with their neat nails. Suddenly their compact computer softness becomes less than... I pause. Less than what? I move them, move their fingers, and I feel something like embarrassment, but not quite. They begin to shake. I'm surprised. I close them into fists, squeeze them to white knuckles. I notice him move again. I see him turn his head to look up at the phalanx of glass that reaches for the sky. He takes his hat off, rubs his balding head, eatens his thinning hair, as if in wonder, or maybe, perhaps, surprise. And just two short ones, I think. Now, like it has happened many times before, there are no words to be found to express my knowledge. Am I too long?
Well, as soon as you can.
Okay,
We have to be out at 8:30.
okay, I'll be in just a minute here. Now, like it has happened many times before, there are no words to be found to express my knowledge that nothing is new. Nothing. It matters not. Nothing. Not that I haven't actually seen it all before. Deja vu? Doesn't exist. It is the gremlin of mere minds who are still deluded by the nothing that is as easily tricked into thinking that anything can be new. Known knowledge. I have professed my possession of knowledge. Yes, I actually did that, like I've done many times before. When was the last time? I remember it was the last time I discovered the breadth of my ignorance, and being wrong about that too. The infinite is in the in-between spaces. I'll call it quits there.
Thank you, sir.